Hey there trippers, and welcome to our next adventure. First, I just want a little disclaimer. Excuse the voice at the moment. I'm just at the tail end of a laryngitis. So I do apologise if I'm a little bit squeaky in the voice. So it is the middle of the year and our school holidays, and we've taken the 2 weeks off to come and just have a bit of a base camp this time around, and just a bit of a refresh and relax for the 2-week duration. So we left a bit late on coming from the Monday morning travel, and we've decided to stop. We're heading towards well, this is the idea. We're heading towards Hay in New South Wales, and we want to camp somewhere along the river, on the Murrumbidgee River. There's a load of campgrounds up that way. There is a really horrible weather front coming in a huge space of all up up and down the southeast of Australia, and so we were trying to find somewhere that we could get away. Although we don't mind the cold, we don't want to be sitting in rain for days and days and days on end. So up that way is only forecast for maybe 1 to 1.5 days rain out of the 2-week period, so we can live with that. So we decided to do a little bit of an overnight stop because, as I said, we got away late on the Monday, and we've stopped at a place called Notley's Campground, which is in the Bendigo National Park. And we came in when it was dark, and never having been here before, we just sort of pulled in right where near the entry, because we didn't want to just travel around blindly in the dark, not knowing where we were going. Being a national park, it's signposted, no dogs are allowed in this park, but we are going to be heading off on our travels and continuing on this morning. This is a great base camp area as well. It's not that far out of Bendigo, so it'd be a nice little camp area if you wanted to go in and explore Bendigo. There's some great things to see in the town of Bendigo. We've done previous episodes of some awesome things to do in Bendigo, so you might want to flick back and have a look at that and consider this as a base camp for that as well. So come with me, and we're going to explore and have a little bit of a look of this campground before we start to head on to our next area. So this is the area that you enter as you come into the campground. And you can see there's already fire pits with cooking facilities on the fire pits, and lots of picnic tables spread out in the pegged off areas, and plenty of places for people to be able to pull over and put their caravans or tents. So we'll just have a little bit of a walk through and see what it is about. There was one group in here overnight on a rooftop tent, and they've obviously gone out this morning to adventure and whatnot, and they've just left their table and settings to mark their ground, and obviously they don't want to be dragging that out every time they go adventuring, so that's a good idea for people with rooftop tents if you don't already do that. Apparently as well, we found this on Wikicamps too, and there's loads of kangaroos that come in here in the dusk, and just walking through here just now I can see remnants of kangaroo everywhere, so there must be a lot of them that come in. So this is a nice looking area to come to out of the weather. Nice. Oh, I do love the look of a winter misty morning through the Australian bush. It's just beautiful. So I'm not sure how many areas. It looks like there's another road perhaps leading off up over there. There's the main one we've come into, and as you can see, there's spaces, a largish space there. And there's areas around the other side of this horseshoe bend that you can pull in with your van as well. There's obviously this area over here. If this was the only area, there wouldn't be a huge amount of people that would be able to come in here at any given time, depending on their rigs and how many there are, if they're groups and so on. But like I said, if there is further space down the road a bit, that makes things a bit different. But you can see up on the hill there, there's a couple of drop toilets. I'm assuming they're drop toilets. I don't know if they're plumbed, but there you have it. That is Notley's campground in Bendigo National Park, and we are now going to continue on our travels towards Hay. We're meeting up with our friends Kim and Tony as well to do some camping with them for the next couple of weeks, and we'll see where we end up and continue on from here. You'll see that shortly. Well, we ended up on the Murrumbidgee River, but we didn't end up near Yea. We decided last minute collectively that we were going to head to a campground near Balranald, I think it's called, Balranald. I can't get the name right, sorry. Balranald, oh my God. Anyway, you'll figure it out. And I think the name of the campground's called Malmanga Campground in Malmanga in what national park is it, guys? Yanga National Park. There you go. Oh my God, that was a lot of words that I was unsure about pronouncing, so please do not hound me about pronouncing them wrong. Okay, so this is where we've ended up. And it's actually loads and loads of campgrounds all along the Murrumbidgee River in this camp area. And we've come as far as we can possibly come to the end of the road in the campground. And we've found the most awesome little space. So come with me and let's have a squeeze. So this is us here. Now there was, we'd come in and we were sort of fighting against the daylight. So we set up madly, and it's rained quite a bit overnight, but beautifully now it is cleared. So it's a little bit soggy underfoot still at the moment. We knew these holidays we weren't going to escape rain altogether, but that's why we came out this way to try and keep away from as much of the rain forecast as possible. So hopefully over the next few days they're predicting very unlikely chances of rain, so that'll be good. So we've got a beautiful space, as I said, right beside the Murrumbidgee River over here. Now, Tony's put some lines in this morning. We were enjoying watching all the fish jumping on the other side of the bank, nowhere near his line. That was quite funny. So he hasn't had any nibbles yet, but we do know there's fish in here because we saw them. So that's a beautiful river. Nice and wide. If Tony brought his boat up, there was even a little space we could have actually moored it just to the edge here. And gotten into it, but we didn't know what we were going to be able to get to at the time, so that's all right. But we've seen some beautiful mob of kangaroos come in last night, and you'll see in some of the footage there's loads of kangaroos around, even emus as well, so that's great. There's Tony and Kim's set up there. The awesome Intrepid. Hey, Kim.
Hi.
Hey, Tones. And Jay. Just enjoying a nice cool one, getting some fire ready for a nice big bonfire tonight because we're going to need it. But otherwise, as you can see, I'll just take you for a quick scooch over here. We've got Chelsea in the tent this trip because we're away for nearly the full 2 weeks of the trip. So she's nestled right here and stayed nice and dry last night, which was great. We've also got the DCV Air Base doing its amazing thing away in the end of the van. Still working beautifully. We are going to be up against it this trip, I have to say, for solar power. So everything is going to end up struggling a little bit, I think, to recharge, just because of the fact that we have positioned ourselves in a way that we're clear from the trees, but also that whatever sun there is, we can get some of it, but it's very limited in this winter weather. So it's going to be a challenge to try and keep everything charged this trip. We'll see how things go. We ducked into town for a pub meal, or we will duck into town for a counter pub meal, so we might consider maybe charging the airbase at least in and getting some charge in that way while we have a counter meal. As for the van charging, well, we'll see. But there's the beautiful national park that we're surrounded by. And as you can hear, loads of birds, loads of wildlife. It's just beautiful here. So keep on following and we'll see where else we end up on this almighty trip for this time around. So it's a very rainy day indeed at camp. So we've decided to go into Balranald and find a little pub and have a counter meal and wait out this rain because it's forecast. Hopefully it's only until about 3 o'clock this afternoon. So it'll give us a good chance to go and get some supplies, have a nice feed and see how that is. We'll show you when we're in there, what it actually ends up being like. See you soon. We have spotted a little hotel called the Shamrock Hotel in Balranald. So we're going to go in and see what the counter meals are like.
How do they make it for price?
Do you remember the film clip of Robert Jackson? I'm pretty sure it was Vita. How he was in that pool hall.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's all authentic.
No. I only found it this out, I don't know, a couple of months ago or something.
I'm going to
Part
double
of the
this so it doesn't matter what
video
people say.
is in this
Because I want to lose copyright. We need the fire on it.
Yeah.
dancing surrounding ground.
That'd be crazy.
All places they're all just a
Dummy.
stage.
I saw that.
Yeah,
Stage
you
spot.
saw that? Yeah, not one of them.
Everyone.
This is really out of place.
Cheers.
So,
Good. We're back in the Balranald pub at the Shamrock and we've come in and there was just no solar that was strong enough to be able to power up the airbase. So we have brought our DCV airbase along and are charging it nicely while we're going to enjoy a nice counter meal in the Shamrock again. Can we do a cheers for Sian?
cheers.
Cheers, beautiful girl.
Cheers.
Oh shit.
Oh, did he go? Oh. Just love the sounds of the Australian bush. It's been absolutely beautiful here at the Mamanga Campground in Yanga National Park. We were originally planning on staying for our whole 2 weeks of our holidays in our campground that we found. But unfortunately, our friends Kim and Tony have had their dog sitting plans changed. And being a national park, obviously, there's no dogs allowed here. So they've had to head back to their home to collect their dogs. And we're going to meet up with them tomorrow. They've got some acreage at a place called Birai near the Murray River. So we'll spend the rest of our week holidays joining them and their dogs onto their property. So that'll be lovely to finish out our holiday regardless. So tomorrow, before we head out, Balranald is just up the road. As you've seen, we've been in there a couple of times now to the Shamrock Hotel for some meals. So we'll head in there and use the dump point in town. It's an RV friendly town. So we'll fill up our water tanks, use the dump point, I saw a big Caravan car wash in the main street, and this road has got really muddy a few days ago when it rained, so we might just wash a little bit of that mud off before we continue on to Kim and Tony's block. Empty the bins and do all those things. But I thought I'd just go for a little stroll just down some of this road and show you all. I might be lucky enough, it's coming into dusk, that we'll see some of the beautiful mob of kangaroos that come through here and the emus. Hopefully you'll get to hear the kookaburras. They've been very vocal here too, which has been awesome. Last night Tony nearly caught a big fish that has been teasing him for the last few days, but it keeps dragging his line under the tree roots in the water of the river, so he's not been able to pull it out, unfortunately, but it's been fun trying. We had the local ranger come and visit us the other day. There's only been probably collectively 3 campers in this entire stretch. You can see there's little designated camp areas everywhere along here with fire pits, tables, some raised areas for swags and so on. And that one day of rain, he actually came down and let us know that he was closing it off for anybody else to come in until this road dried up a little bit, but we were welcome to stay. So that was really nice. This is a free campground. There is no signage at all about having to pay. It's a little bit contradictory because when you look at some of the things on the websites and so forth, it indicates there's a booking fee of $6.50 regardless of just a one-off of how long you stay. But then you look on something like Wiki Camps and the description is it's a free campground. As I said, there is no signage here to say that you need to pay. And when the ranger came and spoke to us, there was no mention from him either. So, beautiful area and fantastic as well if you go in, as we have done several times, and supported the local town of Balranald. Here's one of the toilet blocks over here. Let's just pop over and we'll see what sort of toilets they are. I think they might be drop toilets, but may as well take you and have a look so that anyone who needs facilities knows what's available. Good timing. Now, hopefully that came across on the video. That is an air gun that has been going off very regularly throughout our stay here. We're pretty heavy sleepers, so it hasn't bothered us. Most nights it's actually stopped in the evening, like late in the evening. The other night it went all night. I don't know why, whether that was a mistake or not. Apparently the local farmers use them to deter various pests from eating their crops and things like that. So just every now and again, if you hear that, don't panic and think that someone is around shooting. It's just air guns at the local farmers. Gas guns, I should say. Gas guns they are. Now I've got to figure out how you get into this. Yeah. Nice clean facility. Toilet paper, hand washing station. Yep, paper towel, drop toilet. So there you are. If anybody needs that sort of facility. Let me see if this is a... No, okay. So that is obviously just the water tank to for use for the hand washing station. So there's no potable water here. But there should be in town, which we'll find out tomorrow. We've noticed the river level drop a little bit too since we've been here for almost a week. And faster flowing, so I'm assuming they're emptying it out somewhere down the other end somewhere. But there's just a massive amount of camp areas here. But definitely if it is going to be very wet, they will close it out if you're not already in here, and it's not somewhere that you want to come if you're going to get extensive belts of rain anyway. It doesn't take much water actually on this track to become very slippery and greasy. Hence why they obviously close it off if they've had some rain. We've decided to stop off at the Yanga Woolshed, which was signposted in the Yanga National Park, just up from where we've been camping at the Mamanga Campground. So as we've driven in, we've seen that there's a huge area for dry weather camping. Wet weather camping. This is signposted with some drop toilets right next to the woolshed. So come along, check it out with us and see what this is about. So you just saw then where we drove in to the wet weather campground. Nice big area here. And from what we've seen with all the kangaroos and emus, this would be great on those plains. I'm sure that you'll see a lot of wildlife coming through. There's your toilets over here. And there's woolshed. So we'll wander over and see what's in there. So at the very start of our trail into the Yanga Woolshed, they've got this great information board here, and we've just discovered that there's a heap of things that you could come and do while we've been camping in this area. For those who want some points of interest, there's loads of things. There's homesteads, discovery centres, a swing bridge, heritage walks, all sorts of things that are mapped out here on this campground billboard. So just a little bit of information before we head into the Yanga Woolshed. It states that the Yanga Woolshed saw all of Yanga's sheep during the annual shearing in February. The last shearing was in 2005, and the shed now houses an extensive array of interpretive materials. So we'll go check that out.
Shed hand, penning up the sheep, is not a bad job to start with if you're looking for a job in the sheds. I mean, it's better than school, that's for sure. I didn't like school, all that reading and writing, with the teacher yelling all the time. I got out of there as quick as I could and got a job on this team. The worst thing about being the new kid is everyone gives you their crap jobs. Main thing I got to do is make sure there's always sheep up there for the shearers. Because look out if their catching pen gets empty. Don't they go off, yelling and swearing at ya? Sheep bow, get some bloody sheep up here, you lazy so-and-so. Those station blokes, well, they can be a bit smart too. I suppose I'd be a bit narky if I'd been sitting behind a mob of sheep mustering for days. The manager does all the drafting, which is sorting all the paddock sheep into their right mobs. I don't know how he does it so quick. I mean, look at these earmarks. That one there that looks like a keyhole, that's Yanga's registered mark. All Yanga's sheep have that earmark. And the left and right ear tells the sex of the sheep. If it's a wether, a boy, it's in the left ear. And if it's a ewe, it's in the right ear. Women are always right. The other mark tells them how old they are. Because each year they use a different earmark on the lambs. Pretty clever if you think about it. The manager out there on the drafting race sorts them out and sends them in here for me to push up to the shearers' catching pens. Most of the time, quicker than I can keep up. And when it looks like rain, it gets really busy because we have to get as many sheep in here as we can to keep them dry before being shorn. The shed can hold 3,000 sheep. That should keep them going. I really want to be a shearer, but I just got to wait till there's a loaner stand up for grabs and convince the boss to give me a go. Till then, I'll just keep pushing sheep up. It's a hot, dusty job, but you've got to start somewhere.
He's bloody useless, that shed hand down there. He's as green as they come. It's money out of my pocket if the sheep dry up, and I gotta wait for that useless lump to pan up. Doesn't he know that us shearers get paid by the sheep? It's a tough enough job without him slacking off. Rams are a handful being so big, and you have to be extra careful with the crown jewels, if you know what I mean. They can be pretty valuable with them, and not so much without them. But you get paid double for rams, so it pays to take your time. And And at the other end of the scale are the lambs. What a pain. All flighty and their fleece falls apart. What I do love is getting into a good line of ewes, cutting about 5 or 6 kilos. It's all about keeping your head down and finding a rhythm. But don't be fooled. It can turn into a bit of a race. Oh, some blokes are just happy getting their 100, but if the bloke at the next stand ups the pace a bit, the next thing you know, it's a contest. The ringer's the one to beat, though. He's the fastest shearer. I used to be able to ring the shed, but not these days. I'm not one to sit back and let the next bloke go round me, though, either. Can you imagine this shed with 40 shearers going hell for leather, 20 on each board? Oh, it's quite a sight. I've been shearing now for 20-odd years. Done all right out of it, I have to. Bought a couple of houses, a good ute, that sort of stuff. Some blokes drink all their pay, but I like to put a bit away. Now, this is a young bloke's game. I don't know how much longer my old back will last. Not many jobs you got to spend the whole time getting around like a half-open pocket knife. I'm away a lot of the time, following the sheds. I even went over Western Australia a couple of times. Geez, there's some big runs over there. Never thought I was going to see the end of some of those sheds. The missus doesn't mind me being away. In fact, she starts to hunt me out the door if I spend too much time at home. We got 8 kids, so it can't be that bad. One major change in all the years I've been shearing is women. You never saw a woman on the board in my earlier days. If the manager's wife ever come in the shed, you'd yell out, "Ducks on the pond," which was code for "stop your swearing, because there's a woman about. Nowadays, there are heaps of women in the shed, mostly rousies, but even the odd shearer. You know, I once heard of this Kiwi shearer who set some kind of record by shearing over 500 lambs in 9 hours. True story.
Well, as you've just seen with us, that was the Yanga wool shed. How magnificent. What a beautiful setup that they've got with all the interactive videos and information on the boards and on the walls. Do yourself a favour, if you're in this area, really spend some time and come down here. They've really kept it really well for people to come and appreciate what it was like and what they did here. So definitely one that is a fantastic must do and come and see. This car wash at Balranald is so cool. I am so disappointed we don't have one of these near home. It's got a super bay. Unfortunately, it was busy when we pulled in, but as you can see, it's got actual ramps on either side that you can go up and specifically clean the tops of your caravans and trucks. That is an absolute genius idea. Car washers of Victoria, take note. This is what you need to have. This is amazing. Meanwhile, we've got most of our mud off. We're never going to do a full clean, just enough to get it, you know, so that it wasn't covered as bad. Now this is what I call a car wash. Underbody wash. How cool is that? This car wash. Well, that's a whole lot better. There she goes. There's the awesome owners. Thank you. How good is that? These guys, so lovely, the owners. They purpose-built this entire car wash area with the way that it's set up for the big rigs, and they've only been operating since November. So we were having a good chat to them, and guys, definitely come and support them because it's an absolute brilliant setup, as you've seen. Well, it seems once again our tyre pressure monitors have possibly saved us from a world of explosive hurt. It's been alerting us to the fact for the last 5 minutes that the tyre pressure has dropped quite suddenly on the tyre here at the front on the Caravan. You can see it's actually you can actually see it having reduced. Again, this is one of the cheap tyres that it has come with. After the last trip, we had replaced the 2 tyres that were ruined on that trip, but they have not been put on the van yet. That's them there. They're actually really nice looking tyres. Looking forward to using those. We thought that we would space things out and replace all the tyres over a period of time and see what we can get out of these, but it doesn't look like potentially this is going to give us much more time out of these tyres. So we also had a King's Thumper air compressor for about 9 years that we had used extensively on our 4-wheel drive trips over and over again. And on the last trip, we finally killed it. So thank goodness we have bought and upgraded to the twin thumper this time around. Given that we've got so many more tyres now with the twin axle on the Caravan, we figured that we would bump it up a little bit. So this is going to be the first time that we're actually using the new air compressor that we got. So Jason's just trying to get in and get all the hosing and gear because we hadn't had it set up. So what he's going to do at the moment is just put a bit of air in the tyre to see how it'll travel, and if it still continues to drop, then we're going to have to find somewhere to pull over and he'll replace it completely. But as always, never a dull moment. All right, so as we're filling the air with the tyre, you can hear there's a definite leak in this tyre. So, right there. So, rather than change it at the moment, Jay's going to try and plug it with the repair kit, and we'll see how far we get with that. Oh, yeah. There's a definite large amount of air coming out there. We'll see how the plug works. So Jason did the plug, and as it was airing back up, it started bulging from the inner tube. You can hear it's actually still hissing anyway. The tyre's stuffed. So now we're having to get everything out and jack up the van and actually switch the tyre. Oh, happy days. I hope you've enjoyed coming along on our latest adventure with us these holidays. It's been super relaxing and beautiful to see some new areas. And I thought that I would finish off this episode with a bit of a treat. It is a bit of an experiment, so there is a disclaimer. I don't exactly know how it's going to turn out, but we had some success with a recent video that the girls did on a hot jam damper. So I'm just going to alter that a little bit and do a hot jam scone. And I'm going to use my lemonade scone recipe that has been tried and tested and absolutely delicious. And Chelsea cooked an orange cake in the camp oven the other day, and it came out the most fluffiest and moist cake we've ever baked. It was beautiful. It wasn't burnt on the bottom or anything. So I'm going to use that type of heating method with the coals and the Ozpig again, using the hot jam scones, and hopefully it's going to turn out well. So I'm just going to alter this a little. Okay, so for my recipe I do 3.5 cups of self-raising flour. Doesn't have to be sifted. Three. So that is the self-raising flour. And then 1 cup of lemonade. And just put that on. And 1 cup of full cream. So 3 ingredient lemonade scone recipe. And 1 cup there. Okay. So my first tip when making my lemonade scones is don't overwork the mixture, and use 2 flat knives, and more rather than knead as such, I kind of chop into the mixture a little bit and try and mix it that way. You're still going to have to come around and incorporate that bread in, but I try and just avoid overworking it as much as possible. Now I may need a little bit more flour, liquid in this mixture. Sometimes when you're not doing 100% accuracy on your measurements, a little bit more flour happens to tip in than it should, so I've got to counterbalance that. Easy. I'll just add a little bit more lemonade first. See how that goes. A smidge more cream. I like it to be quite a sticky mixture myself. Just find it a little bit lighter then in the end. Now you've got this mostly together. I think where I went wrong, I think I usually do about 3 cups of flour, 1 cup of lemonade, 1 cup of cream. So I think that's sort of where I went a little bit wrong in this particular recipe, but it may not be such a bad thing because I'm going to try putting in the jam into the top of the scones. If it was a bit too soft, it might not have ended very well. So it'll be interesting to see how they turn out. So I've got a lightly floured board here, so you just turn it out onto a lightly floured board when you've done that, and just gently try and bring it together. Again, I don't want to overwork it as much as possible. Now, camping, I don't have a rolling pin, so I've just picked up a plastic cup, and I'm gently just going to use it a little bit to flatten out as best I can, which is good. Now, so I like to have them quite high. Like you can see, the sides are quite thick and high, the dough. And another tip, so I get a glass. So depending on the size of your scone, they will rise quite a bit as well. You get a glass and flour it. And then use the glass as your shape. So just gently take the air out and puff it. Avoid the temptation to twist the glass to make your cut, because as you twist, you'll damage the sides of the scone and it won't rise as nicely. So there's another tip. So again, between shapes, just in and out. So you go through, you make all your shapes. Alright, so we'll be able to make more scones out of that. We just bring it all together again and continue until you've used all your recipe. So you can see this one batch will make quite a few scones. So now this is the tricky part, and the part that I haven't done before, so we're going to see how it turns out. I'm going to get a knife and I'm just going to gently try and make a well in the centre of my scone. Like so. Just have to get a spoon, and my hands are covered, so you know. Okay, so I've just got your favourite jam. Strawberry is my go-to. So we'll get a teaspoon of that, like so, and just pop just a teaspoon. Should be enough, that's plenty. So you can see I've made the hole and I've put the jam in. Now I'm just going to try and pinch that together. Like so. Just sealed it up about that high and continue until all your scones are made. right, so another tip, I finished making all my scones now, my hot lava jammy scones, ready for the camp oven and to go onto the Ozpig. In this size, it's made a total of 14 of the scones. And my last tip for making a nice scone is to make sure when you're laying them in the pan, to make sure the sides are touching each other, because they'll help each other rise nicely if that's the case. So I've got Jason to just slightly alter a square pan that I had. Now, to help to avoid having them burn underneath, I've got a loaf pan that I've tipped upside down, sitting on a trivet inside the camp oven already. Then I've just had Jason alter and squeeze the corners ever so slightly in this square pan, because it's a great size for all my future damper recipes, scones and cakes and anything else that I'm going to make in the camp oven. It's a great size. And so I've just lined it with some baking paper, so that's going to be now sitting nice and high off the bottom of the camp oven to help avoid those burnt bottoms on your baked goods. And then I'm just going to take it out to the pig and set it up, and I'll show you how I've got it set up out there. Alright, so I've got the Ozpig. I've had a nice gentle fire now going down the bottom with some coals. You don't want a really hot roaring fire at the bottom. Excuse me. It's sitting on a little grill plate and the diffuser again with all that. Then the trivet, the upside down pie pan, and then in the square tin as well. So on top I've just put 4 hot coals. Again, I just want to emulate about a 160 degree oven. So I think that combination is going to work well. We'll try for 20 minutes, come back and we'll see what they look like. Well, there you have it. Oh my goodness. They have turned out absolutely magnificently. My hot jam scones, perfect on the Ozpig. So I decided that it was a little bit too light on the heat sources, so I had to add a few more coals on top of the camp oven, especially to finish the browning process on top, but the rest has cooked beautifully throughout. So and I did add another probably 15-20 minutes just because it was so light on the heat source. So it's a little bit of experimentation to get it right, but using this method with the trivets and pans and so forth has definitely made a massive difference to our baking journey now. So that could be quite dangerous. So that concludes another adventure of ours, and we're just going to finish off spending our time. The sun has actually decided to join us, which has been nice. We've been fairly fortunate given it's winter and pretty wet in the rest of Australia, that we've only experienced probably 2 or 3 days of rain, but otherwise we've been pretty lucky to what we've been able to have while we've been away. And unfortunately we now have to pack up and start getting ready to roll out, heading home tomorrow for the big cleanup, back to work, and looking forward to our next adventure.